once again to Conscripted, episode 48. Tell us, dear players, where do the six of you find yourselves? John finds himself on a call.
With the Koshram laying dead at our feet.
Wrong answer.
Yeah, I remember that happening. And then John absorbed its powers so that he could become the new Koshram.
So we are on the outside of a fairly, I guess we haven't had the tunnel fully described, but an entrance to an underground area that we know the Koshran resides in, presumably. That's what Kandor told us, and that's what Sphinx's vision implied. We are out there just after a fight. We have a lot of things to discuss and plan for. But we are deep in enemy territory at this point. We've just overcome the first of a series of guards. There could be more. But we got a little bit of insight into what things might be like. They apparently have a concentration like aura that requires making concentration checks to cast spells. They also seem to have a lot of spell resistance. We knew these things. It's kind of just a confirmation. Although Kandor had told us that they would likely be resistant or immune to electricity as well as the main one. But so his details could potentially be wrong on things, which is an interesting caveat. But other than that, yeah. So, so agendas for the evening.
Mm-hmm.
I believe our plan is to rest out here for the night. I want to make sure that Ra would be casting Consecrates, and we will sleep in the area of Consecrates to protect against any scrying effects.
Yep.
I'll be using Keep Watch to help people essentially stay on their vigilance. If anything comes out of this tunnel, I want to get the jump on it as opposed to letting it get out in the open and like sort of, keep it essentially like pigeonholed. I also want to take some time to study these specimens that we downed, and see what other insights I might have into them.
Okay.
Kandor had mentioned a number of things about these creatures, which didn't really get to come up. But I want to see if I can confirm any other things that Kandor might have told me about these. I know that Cassius is worse for the wear, and also we had a little bit of a confusion with what items were being put on the face of Ra. So that's kind of a discussion I'd like to have now, before we go to sleep, as I was not aware that these lines were worn on your face. So if that's the case, I would be willing. It could put us at some risk, but I would be willing to essentially take this night and the next day to just sort of prepare and rest and get everything ready, and give time for the blindfold to actually tune to Zeke. Ra's been wearing it for about a day so far, so I would hope that's like not too late to like get it off, especially since like if she was wearing her lenses during this period too, it like I wouldn't even be like fully attuning because like she can't be wearing both at once. And then also that gives Cassius a bit of a chance to get some charisma, at least one night's sleep, if not two, because right now Cassius is literally like about to fade from existence if he fails one more charisma save. And yeah, I would like to work with Erebos on scribing a scroll, because I'm kind of realizing that I'm going to be strapped for spell slots for this. So I think that would be kind of a cool character moment to work with him on that. But yeah, that's my agenda. Those are the things that I think we should talk about. Anyone else have any points? Please bring them up.
I'm going to also, while we're not in the infected area, give the Dryads an update before I go to bed about where we're at, what we're doing, that sort of thing. just in case there's something that they can do. I'm not expecting much out of it, but at least somebody knows where we're at.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I have one out of character question.
Yes.
My mini is not showing up with any spell points.
I will fix that. That was I redragged it over and forgot to drag you or forgot to reset when I did the.
How many consecrates do you want?
There you go.
So it is a 20-foot radius.
Same thing for Mal here.
One minimum, maybe two. Two probably better because kind of you can just sort of spread them where I put the tree pattern.
Yeah,
so,
I just need to know how much gold to subtract, basically.
Let's move you back to the tunnel entrance area. Make sure I put you in the right place as I do it and not inadvertently put you on a map that's too much info.
If you want or to anything that's like got a material cost, it's like a party need, like just log it, and I'll reimburse you. I don't want anyone having to like pay out of pocket for party stuff.
I'm concerned about it. I just wanted to make sure I was accurate with how many spell points and money I would be expending.
So yeah, can I? So, is one of the specimens, I forget how each one died. Is one of the specimens looking a little bit easier to study than the other? I guess
they both look relatively the same.
Okay. So I have my knowledge planes and I have knowledge Zamluva.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know which you'd want me to roll on this. But...
So let's use your more specific one. Now, what kind of things are you doing to test or experiment on these creatures?
So the things that Canor told us with being able to sense things, I want to look for anything that could be like super sensory organs in a way. Like I want to see if they have like what could look to be multiple eyes, like underneath their layers of skin. I want to look to see if they have anything that resembles like really sensitive ears or anything like that, or anything that could be like a telekinetic like sensory rod, like like sometimes people have like tentacles that like sense things.
Okay.
I'm basically looking over that.
So from that, you'll see that it actually has one eye that goes all the way around its head.
Okay.
The red bar that exists is basically like in a giant eye cavity that can see, and inside there's like a floating kind of orb thing that seems to be able to look out in all directions. It has no direct focal point and instead sees like a 360-degree camera would at all times.
And I'm assuming we just are resuming right where we stopped, right? In terms of time.
That is correct.
So like not much time has passed. I want to see if maybe just with like a cantrip spell, I want to see if casting a cantrip feels like it's getting easier or harder as time passes, as these things, if it's already like easy, or if it's still like is basically like expiring over time.
You can feel resistive force in the air when you try to cast spells. Not enough to like totally blank something, but enough that you can feel it.
But this is less than when these things were alive.
It is less now when these things were alive, but okay. when these things were alive and you were trying it, you were in close proximity to them.
Yep. So it'd be like a fair deduction that they have some sort of small aura that like basically fucks with like concentration checks.
Yes.
Okay. I would relay all this to the party. We kind of already knew about sort of the site, but I would explain that it does appear to be visual for these things at least. We know for the Koshrin it's probably not, so don't assume that for it because it literally like communicates and fucks with us telekinetically. So, but yeah, so there's apparently an aura. So if you need to cast something really important, do it away from these creatures, and it might be easier.
Do you know how far?
I don't know how I would determine that at this point. It was hard when I was close to them, and it's much easier now. I know that this is, I don't think in character we'd put this together, but Erebos was farther away and had an easier check than I did. So there's definitely some fall off there, but I don't know if Erebos and I could actually quantify that to each other. So I'm just going to assume it's some long range thing.
Arvos comes out of the car. What in God's name is everyone doing? It's like I couldn't hear anything for a few minutes. What's happening?
God
Tested this creature. Does anyone else have any preparations we need to do before we rest for the night?
So I think maybe Sphinx could help here. I want to determine if we switch the blindfold now after only about a day, and we take a full day and a half basically to switch the attunement, would that be enough to swap the effects? Especially given that Ra's been basically wearing both of them. So like I imagine she hasn't even effectively been attuning as well, because you can't literally have them both on at once.
Well, you can, but you can't get an effect from both of them.
Right, which is what I mean. Like, it would have potentially been messing with her ability to attune to it if she was actually wearing both on her eyes.
Cassius, what is that survival check for?
Yeah, that was, I was going to wait until he was done doing what he wanted to do. I didn't want to interrupt. That's for, I was going to basically try to surmise about how far away we are, where we're at roughly, to maybe not, I know I don't know coordinates like that, but like that way when I do, send the message, I can tell them where we are and where we're going.
You know for sure you're very close to the mountains right now. You are within probably dozens of feet of the mountains.
Yeah, I just wanted to let the Dryads know the most accurate place we are and the direction we plan on going, just in case.
Okay.
Doesn't hurt not to, or doesn't hurt to do it. Yeah, that's what I meant. Also wasting a crit, so.
Not about it.
Ra, you're awfully quiet. Can you come here and make yourself useful for a minute?
Okay.
I will ask Ra to. So when she consecrated the ground, did it like dissolve the ground, or is it still purple, or what exactly happened?
There is still some tint to the ground, but what sort of happens is it kind of pushes aside the purple of the air. There's like little bits of residue that still exist in the ground because you cannot fully cleanse the ground without like digging it up and restoring it. But then as the trees come down, they sort of take a little bit more of it out of there. But there's like a slightly thicker layer of purple that kind of surrounds the outside of the consecrated area.
So is it like vapors in the air, or is it actually like rubbery ground, or a mixture of both?
A bit of both. Like the vapor in the air is kind of a reinforcement measure for the ground that is underneath you. So the ground is sort of rubbery, but as the consecrate happens, it kind of pushes back some of the fleshy texture and leaves it with a more of a ground like a dirt like texture, but that is like reasonably purple tinted.
Does anyone have any vials on them or glassware that I may borrow?
When I used the grease oil, did that leave a bottle?
You would have had a bottle.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, if you can give that to me, I will ask Ra if she can potentially slice some of this rubbery floor up, to give me a little chunk, if that's possible. Or if she can use like her holy magic to assist in doing that.
Yeah.
So I want to grab this rubbery texture that she's cutting off for me, and I want to just do a waft in the air with the empty vial Zika's giving me to try and just like capture some of these vapors.
Sure.
And did we establish? Did Spinks cast the secure shelter, or is that up, or do we have anywhere to stay secluded?
At the moment, that has not been decided. The only thing that has been done
Okay.
so far is the consecrates have gone down, and the tree has been planted.
Are our tokens out here?
They are indeed.
Okay, I'm just not seeing mine.
Slide over to the right. These are actually your old tokens as well. I'm going to
I'm
update
all
some
the
of
way
your.
over to the right, but I literally like.
Yeah, I don't see mine.
I don't
either.
see mine either. Yeah. they might
Oh,
be
that's
wrong
weird.
there.
They actually are showing. They're also not showing up for me, but they are showing up on the.
I mean, I can see like
On the stream view.
areas
Hold on a sec.
of, like,
I will
light.
drag people in. This is
Yeah, I see the vision, but
this is really bizarre because they don't. I can't even
Oh,
click
yeah,
on
you
them
can
here.
see the tokens.
I'm pretty sure I'm like right here somewhere.
Yeah, hang on. I will bring people in.
I see the golem. The golem's hanging out.
he's the sole survivor.
Yeah.
Anyways,
I see my
while you're
field
doing
of
that,
view.
There's
my
a
goal with-
Cassius.
my goal with all that was just to I want to get somewhere
yeah.
secluded. So if that just sorry, I just want to get this out so I don't forget. I don't know if I just want to wait for a secure shelter or somewhere secluded. I want to detect magic so I'm not blinded by everything. So maybe in the consecrated ground, there's no vapors and ground to interfere. I just want to focus on this little piece to try and discern what magic, if any, is giving off by it to determine what kind of magic is forcing my spell point drain at all, if I can tell that.
Sure. You can give me a knowledge arcana here.
Knowledge Arcana.
If you're willing, I would assist you too.
Yeah, obviously I would, as I'm doing all this, you guys would notice and can ask what I'm doing and I would tell you.
Mel's a scientist. He knows if you want to mind your own business, it's fine.
Oh my god, low roll.
That's to assist you, so I guess it's
You almost
A
max
27.
rolled it and barely beat me. Wow. Oh, how do I have such a big bonus?
Okay. One thing that you're going to know here is this isn't an arcane effect that is impeding your abilities and your energy. That will definitively tell you that this is not of an arcane nature. This is something never seen before. It's really crazy that every time I adjust the size of one of these minis, my whole system lags. I've seen that behavior. You was murdering my machine.
So does that logically tell me it's a divinely inspired magic going on, or is it...
Nope,
I'm
that
not
does
sure.
not. I mean, you only know of two magics, arcane and divine.
Right.
Hold
So
on.
am I able to roll a knowledge religion, or can I ask Ra?
Yeah, you can.
She has any
If
thoughts
you
on
if
that,
you have
or-
ranks in knowledge religion, you can give me a knowledge religion.
Of course I do. I'm trying to start a religion. What do you think?
Ugh.
If you ask me, I can.
I would, of course, ask you as well. Yeah.
All right.
not gonna over to you just to have a dick off with you about knowledge checks.
I will switch out my amulets and put on my religious amulet and use my insight bonus.
You have
That-
the amulet of natural armor right now.
Yes.
And what was the other amulet?
The other amulet is the one I had made that was like the religion oriented one.
It's just a bonus to knowledge religion, or is specific? Sorry, I'm just not remembering at the moment.
It's a like you pick something, a skill check for it to be a bonus to a knowledge check, and I picked knowledge religion, so all it gives me is +5 competence bonus to knowledge religion, and then once per day I can do a +10 insight bonus as well to knowledge religion specifically.
Of
Actually,
does it have a specific name?
Pendant of knowledge.
Yeah. Go ahead and give me the check.
Should I coat my orphanages with this
and
substance?
+10 to that. I didn't put the 10 insight in that, so that's the roll without the +10 insight.
Holy shit. telling me, Ra, how do I start my own religion? You know everything.
I'm not sharing any of that info with you, bud.
Oh, you got to share misinformation with them so that
No.
he does hilariously embarrassing things.
I like it.
Ra wouldn't do me like that.
Okay, so you can ascertain that this is not divine magic either.
Oh.
Well, there you go.
You are definitively certain that this is not something of the divine.
A new magic source.
I actually did have a question. When she's using consecrate, what exactly does she do? Like, what's the like? I know she probably casts a spell or like verbal components and all that. Like, what is she? Does she cast it on something?
Technically, it is an aura that you put around a specific area that basically like cleanses the area around the segment. So there'd be like walking around, like blessing the area, doing a few like things, sprinkling silver dust across the ground.
Does it? Well, I guess I want to know, but I'd go ask her about that. Like, would you specifically have to do that on the ground?
I mean, it's like a 20-foot radius emanation, but I don't have to be targeting the ground. But I mean, like, I've consecrated that altar, but I
was
assume
just
I'm
curious.
aiming on the ground around the altar.
I was just curious if like.
The thing that I want to know is, how is it that you're doing this without being able to see and making the circles concentric? Like, getting one circle made can make sense. Getting multiple circles made using, like, any semblance of mathematics while blind is a lot more difficult. There's no real physical objects to compare where your location is. So how blind would you be doing this?
I would ask someone to just help guide me.
Okay.
At that point, just
okay.
Tell Mal, like, guide me where you want me to place this, basically, and just follow him in place as
Well, and also like
I was just kind of curious if
swapping. Like I don't want to play your characters, but you guys should like actually like talk about swapping the items and see how that works.
Well, we were waiting for Sphinx, right?
Well, okay. Well, then so Sphinx make like a spellcraft then, or like try and figure out like what this exchange would require.
Yeah, basically, I was just trying to figure out if you would be able to use that on the cart if need be. For the consecrate. I don't know if that would help or not, but
I don't think I could consecrate the cart specifically. I do think it has to be kind of associated to like the ground area.
In and out for a sec. Hold on.
It would probably consecrate the area around the cart, but
well, yeah, because I was trying to look it up and I briefly looked over and I just wasn't sure if that was something. Maybe I didn't read it all the way.
All right, stream is going to lose their view of the game for a moment.
Yeah, the spell just says blesses an area with positive energy.
And you have to do that whole like circle thing to be able to
use
as a casting spell.
Yeah, so I mean, it doesn't say an object or a person or anything. It just says an area. So I think it kind of has to be like sort of like a ground area.
I just didn't know like if say we were leaving this area like on the way out, or if we needed to flee or something, if that would be something you'd be able to do, and if it would be any benefit at all to us to have the cart consecrated. But I don't know how the spell works per se.
No,
you cannot concentrate. You cannot consecrate the cart.
Okay.
Okay, well, Sphinx, if we're thinking about transferring this headband, why don't you come check it out on me to start with and see if it seems like I can take it off or what's going to happen if I take it off. So I'm assuming that'll be a spellcraft.
Yeah. You're not entirely sure. You can tell that this magic is likely bled into her pretty significantly because it seems to be changing aspects of what she is. But even with that, that's not enough to identify what could happen if this comes off. Something about this magic is very different to anything you've ever seen or worked with before.
So Sphinx thinks she might be permanently blind from this?
Sphinx has no indication whatsoever of what the complications of taking this off could be, is what I said.
She's been physically. You said she's been changed, or did we notice this?
There is some kind of change that is happening based on having this on due to the magic that Sphinx cannot detect the origin, the significance, or the nature of what it is. All magical items change you when you wear them, or change something that they're interacting with, or layer on top of them. They do one of those three things. Transmutive objects change the implicit properties of the thing which they are connected to. Things like abjurative cover over it. Things like, enchantment work on the inside and on the outside.
Can I try and get my communication scroll and see if I can contact Heracles?
Yep, you will not be able to. Imagine it sort of like being in the middle of a place where you don't have any radio interference where you're standing. So if you put like a radio tower on one end and on the other end of the consecrate, you could transmit a signal that way, but you can't transmit a signal from out of the of where you are.
So by that logic, would if at least for the moment, if we took her lenses and put them on Zeke, since we can't get messages out, whatever pings that the lenses might send to Heracles probably don't work either, right?
That would be a reasonable thing to suspect, because you already know that for him to see in here, it requires a gem and somebody else to be used as a focus for him to bleed through.
So if we're really concerned with Ra taking the blindfold off, then I would say then let's just give the lenses to Zeke, and Zeke can use them temporarily while in the Kosh reach. And if somehow that goes bad, that just sucks. But it would seem consistent that if we can't contact Heracles, he couldn't also get contact from an object right now. So that would be like my suggestion, I guess, since I don't want to risk Ra taking this off and like having like bad consequences.
Yeah, I agree, because that'd be like double the risk.
Yeah. So I'm gonna try that then. I'm gonna take off Ra's lenses.
Okay.
Do they instantly poof out of my hands?
They do not.
Okay. I'll hand them to Zeke and I'll say, Zeke, you're free to use these while we are in here, and then obviously these are Ra's. Once we start heading back out, you should return them, assuming we're not dead in the first place. But
I have no idea what these are. So what lenses did Ra have?
They're lenses of locate object once per day.
You might want to try them a little bit.
Or locate creature, once per day.
From my testing, basically how they work is you think of a creature that you have personally seen up close within like 30 feet or whatever, and once per day you basically think of that creature and like activate them, and they feel like they pull you towards and in the direction of said creature.
So while we're in consecrated ground, I'm not talking about strategy outside of consecrated ground. I'm being very careful with that.
Mm-hmm.
I would also make sure I don't have my bestow planar fusion acting. So this is my plan, guys. And I'm welcome to whatever suggestions, but I think this thing will expect that...
Actually, one thing I should clarify, with the bestow planar infusion, for some reason you can't... It will like fail. Like it will let you know that it's failing. So like Ra does like the last step of consecrating.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're standing in that area, it will not trigger. You'll actually have to step out, and then she can do it, and it will trigger off. And then you can't enter that area so long as you have that planar infusion going.
Good to know. So that's actually pretty beneficial information, Ra. You should keep note of that. These consecrates could be potentially obdurative against anything influenced by this, which yeah. But so nonetheless, the strategy I would like to propose is that I don't know if Ra is fully attuned anyways. So if we're going all in on Ra having it, then like I think to be as safe as we could, I'd almost propose we take the next day to get any last minute preparations done. I also need to work with Erebos to make a scroll. And this would also give us a good opportunity to sort of bluff a strategy to the creature. So it's been inside my head. I don't want to keep this information from you guys because if it gets to me, I want you guys to know that it can. I'm going to try and stay as far away from it as I can. I think that Ra and Zeke can handle it, and I will handle anything else. But essentially what I would propose is it's going to expect us to go in immediately. I think it's read my emotions. It knows how much I hate this thing. But the last time I did this, I got a close friend killed, and I'm not going to have that happen again. I'm going to be rational with this. I'm going to try and keep my emotions in check. And so what I would like to try and do is tomorrow morning, when it might expect that we're departing, Ra cast essentially a consecrate down in the tunnel. And I walk towards that consecrate with bestow planar infusion on, essentially creating a connection to it, making it sense that I'm coming down the tunnel towards it, and then essentially dismissing it as I walk into the consecrate. And then from there, it would lose my connection to me.
Okay.
I want it to think that we're coming in tomorrow morning, when in reality we're just actually making preparations and hanging out in consecrate, trying to like prevent it from knowing this, to basically see if we can get it to sort of overexert itself to like make like exert resources to like try and stop us, and then sort of try and like trick it, and then actually go in the next day.
Okay.
And then that would also give me I need to work with Erebos on making a scroll for myself. And then that would also give Cassius an extra night of sleep, and it would also give Ra an extra day to attune to the blindfold.
Okay. So this brings up a question that I think is crazy levels of important, that was very clearly not thought about and very clearly either not understood, or is something I know that players are often, that players do very often. But when I look at Consecrate as a spell, and when the player who's casting Consecrate looks at it as a spell, can you tell me what are the material components for Consecrate?
Oh shit, do I have to have a visual component for this?
Nope, you need to have holy water and 25 gold worth of silver dust. Now, if you're a party that's planning to be out for some amount of time, you would obviously grab some amount of this ahead of time. So, hand-waving over we're going to have to stop for 2 days in order for you to consecrate the ground. I want to know, what is the likelihood that Ra would have brought extra holy water and extra silver dust with the idea that you're going for a 2-day journey, roughly?
Yep,
I mean, I would say that it's possible, because look at the amount of grease I brought.
Sure. Then the question is, how much? Like, how do I determine how much is reasonable now that you have additional information to play with in this area? How do I tell when you're trying to guesstimate what the correct number is based on new information?
Well, I had already determined from the last time we were here that Consecrate did have an effect on the ground. So I already knew that it would have an effect on the ground. So, I mean, yes, I didn't think about this beforehand. So, and I didn't particularly go and like make sure that I had done this. So, I mean,
before we go any further with that, the first thing I need you to do is I need you to lose. You've used 6 castings of it so far. It was 3 for each night.
Subtracting.
Okay.
That.
So you've lost a total of 156 gold or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've been subtracting it each time.
Got it. But
that's why I specifically asked Mal what if he wanted 1 or 2, because it makes a difference.
When we're doing supply stuff like this,
Yeah.
On material components, monetary components do matter. If you don't have those monetary components, it becomes very easy to take a spell, which I specifically allowed to be this way because it has all the characteristics of what's necessary to have the effect. But if you don't actually have to carry those around, then there's no limiting factor here. It just does become something which, now that I've given you info about, I've realized is now pretty heavy for you guys. Because if you guys said, well, I have like 20 of them, what's to stop Ra from deciding, like, well, I'm just going to run around consecrating on every square I can run to?
Well, we do also have plenty of places to store it. Like, we have the cart and everything.
Storage is not what the complication is. It's going into something. If you think you're on a 2-day journey and you don't know that Consecrate could have an effect on a creature that's in here, you're not going to bring like a stack of this stuff because it's just pointless. It's extra money wasted on something that's not going to do you any good.
Going in, we did know that it had an effect on the area itself, though, correct?
Sure, but you knew it was a 2-day trip in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would think since we don't know how deep the tunnels are, it's reasonable that I'd say that she took at least 3 days, but like where it goes beyond that, I actually don't know.
Okay, so what I would be willing to do is I would be willing to do a D4 plus 2 for the amount of consecrate materials you brought from this night from after this night forward. So you brought at least one more for one more day, so that's 3, right? That'd be 3 total days worth of it, and then plus some extra.
Okay, that seems fair.
Anybody in disagreement?
No.
Oh, sounds fair.
Okay.
It's like anyone that has components, you really do have to track that stuff. It is a part of the game, so.
So I will give this to you, Ra. Can you roll me a D4? Okay. Good roll. So you have a whole extra day's worth of consecrates. Beyond just the extra, you brought basically the equivalent of 3, you have the equivalent of 4 now.
Can you make holy water, Whitney, or no?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
You just need access to bless, I thought, right? Or is it bless water?
Yeah, but I think you need blessed water. Because I was gonna say, like, we just smash up like silver coins or something. There's a way we could make silver dust.
Yeah, I mean, I have create
holy
water, but I don't have any way to.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Blessed water is on the Inquisitor list, but Inquisitors have to choose to take that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't have that.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Okay.
But
all right, so
beyond...
please remove the money for the extra 3 instances.
I was just gonna say beyond that, I do have 2 scrolls of consecrate.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It seems this material is neither arcane nor divine, which maybe was a fair assumption, but I want to double check. Arvos muses with Sphinx. What happens if you are familiar were to eat this? Would you learn a new spell? Don't try it. I think it would be disastrous.
Yeah.
All right, so the plan is to rest here for an extra day. Mal, you're going to try to do like a decoy thing. Yep. Okay. And the consecrate lasts for
2 hours.
16 hours? Yeah. That's what I thought. Just want to make sure.
I was looking it up because I was trying to figure out how it has to be casted. I don't think it says anything on there, but A, it's not my game, and B, I don't fully understand it, so.
It targets area.
It's an area.
If it could move with an object, it would say it could target an object. Yep. Otherwise, it would be OP. Like
you definitely cannot drive around with consecrate rolling around behind you or on you, because that would basically mean you're an undead killing machine.
Yep. If it can target a movable thing, it'll say it can target an object. So that's just how Pathfinder has.
I don't play like divine caches that often, so I was just trying to find out for personal reference.
Okay. So you guys go ahead.
I was just gonna make a check. Would a house be a better or worse thing at this point? So like, The house is big, but like, does it give a stealth bonus? Can you actually click your tiny hut?
Yeah, I don't think it gives you any sort of stealth bonus.
So is it gonna just draw more attention to us if we're just doing keep watch anyways? Is there any point to the hut? Based on what I've studied with these creatures so far, like I don't know.
The hut would make it more difficult for the dog-like creatures to get in.
Mm-hmm.
So you'd have like a choke point, and you'd definitively have a way to like kill them as they come in.
We have ignore invisibility thing for the dogs, right?
Correct.
Ignorance,
you do have ignorance and visibility. So
if the house is just going to draw attention to us, I almost think let's not do the house in here.
Okay.
If someone has a different argument, I think that's the best case, though.
I have an argument for you, Maldronicus. My back is hurting from these uncomfortable nights.
Okay.
I don't think the things know we're here. Is there no reason to not have a good night's rest before perhaps going into the most terrifying battle of our lives?
I mean, you still sleep on like the same cot, like, or does the house have comfy beds? I actually don't even know. Like,
I believe
I don't
it's
know if our
cots.
house is actually.
Are they like actually high quality beds, or are they just like shitty, like, you know, like, oh,
I'm missing somebody.
So it just says 8
I'm pretty sure they're
bunks.
just cots, but
that's
or bunks,
cool.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
He's color spraying us. Get him!
I'm like, wait, what is it rolling?
Damn,
Oh,
Mal.
shit.
Damn.
It's heated. I guess it doesn't say anything about the beds.
Who am I missing? I got Zeke, Aravos,
This is 8 bunks.
Mal.
If we want, then it's fine. Like, I think it's
Cassius
negligible either way.
disappeared.
I just think like they literally know where we are. I think it doesn't hurt to have like it's a stone structure to prevent us from getting attacked.
If you recall, like, it was kind of a pain in the ass to see where the vampires are coming from because we can't see through the walls. There's only 2 windows. With Keep Watch on, we can literally see in every direction the 4 of us.
True. Yeah.
With nothing obscuring our vision. So if something's coming, we'll see it.
well, the little things won't know we're here. The big things probably already know where we are, but
Yeah, he brings
I
up
don't
a good
know.
point about the vision thing. So yeah, meme answers non aside, I think it makes sense not to use it for safety.
Okay.
well, or you could just not cast through the windows and stuff.
All right.
But
So I want to know then, what are the 6 of you doing to keep yourselves busy for a full day in a very small 60 by 20 space?
Well, yeah, I still got stuff to do. Like, I needed to test out the headband and stuff.
Okay. Well, it's not a headband. It's goggles.
very important distinction.
It's goggles, and you have other goggles.
Yeah.
Okay. Just making sure we're not back into a headband versus eyewear thing.
Yeah, I mean, I was just making a joke, but
Oh, okay.
as
Sorry.
far as that goes. But
The delivery there didn't help, sir.
okay. So yeah, so essentially, it's 1 use a day.
It is once per day
Okay.
of locate creature.
So I just essentially like would picture the Kashram in my head from what we saw in Arachnus is what we think is how it would work, correct, guys?
Wait.
I mean, the thing is I never figured out for sure if basically that was enough to locate it. So that's like one unknown we don't know about it, is whether what we've seen from Arachnis's vision is good enough for them to locate it. So
That's essentially our best guess, though. Right?
yeah, so I
Yeah.
mean, you can think about like what you saw in that vision and attempt to like locate it and see if you feel a pull, but we also don't know. It does have a range limit, so I'm not 100% certain if we're in range for them to like pick up on it yet.
Do we know the range limit?
Yeah, it was like 400 feet or something like
The
that.
estimate would probably be that it's close to 600 or 700 feet. Because Heracles cast it, so it's probably or Heracles created it, so it's probably somewhere around that range.
Okay.
So it's
Yeah. Yeah, and so for the 1 use for today, essentially I want to just put on an actual whatchamacallit, blindfold,
Okay.
and then with those, I'm obviously taking off my Eyes of the Owl.
Mm-hmm.
And then like I'll just try and target a party member. I'll just say like Maldronicus or whatever and see exactly how that
Yeah,
would work for
you'll
me.
feel a strong pull towards Maldronicus.
Okay, and like I can tell where he's at when I have the blindfold on.
You can tell roughly where he's at. You're still blind, but you can basically identify to roughly like a 5-foot square where Maldronicus is at.
Okay, and so like I'm able to determine enough to be able to like try and punch him.
Yeah, I mean you can get attacks in. You'll find that you still miss a significant amount of the time.
Okay. Yep, but that's what's important is being able to actually potentially locate this thing with a blindfold on.
Yes, it is always pulling you back. Like if he moves around, if you like turn direction, you'll feel it pulling you back towards him at all times.
Okay. And is there anyone that these Eyes of the Owl would help? Anybody in this party?
What do they do?
It just gives you not infravision,
Dark vision.
Low light.
Okay. Yeah.
I guess
My
Cassius.
Better than those items.
Cassius is really the only one that can benefit from them.
Yeah, if nobody can use them, I can use them, I suppose. Better than not use them at all.
So yeah, use these while I have on these lenses.
Okay.
You said they were Eyes of the Owl?
Yes.
Okay. I'll put that in my inventory.
I would carve out a small chunk of the space just so Erebus and I have some space to scribe my scroll.
Okay. All right.
Carlos is excited. He hasn't scribed his scrolls in
Oh wait.
a while.
So when I'm locating Maldronicus, like if I have a reach weapon, I'd just be able to detect him with that?
Yeah, because it's pulling you to a specific place.
Okay.
I guess that becomes a little more difficult because you don't know when the pull is kind of stopped because you're in close enough proximity. So that does make it a little more difficult to identify.
The way would it be fair that the way that it's functioning working is like you can locate the square without a perception check, but you still have to roll to just like.
If you're adjacent, I would say yes. If you're not adjacent, I would disagree with that because you're still being pulled to it. Like when you're one square away, the idea is it's not really pulling you anymore because you're there. It doesn't pull you to being inside of them. It pulls you to being near them.
So
how long does the effect last for that?
Minutes per level.
So if he just unequipped his weapon, would he be considered unarmed?
Yeah, but how would that change anything?
I mean, if he's concerned about the range, wouldn't he have to be within 5 feet range at that point? So I'd be able to maybe tell him.
But
I don't know if that
so I can't use my Bardish like.
Well, I'm just curious. I just wasn't sure if that would help you determine whether or not it is affected by the weapon.
He could get to a point where he could determine the square, and then he would have to 5-foot step back to make an attack. So he couldn't charge with the Bardish, but he could effectively like get into a square close, take a step back, and as long as the subject didn't move, he could make the attack. But it's unlikely the subject is going to like ready a 5-foot step for in the event that Zeke takes an attack on him.
Oh, it is.
Maybe I misunderstood what was being said then.
All right. Yeah, and then so I guess I would also want to try and determine if I could find them in a way that I could use my Shoes of Lightning Leap to them. Like, would this... these would not allow me to do that, I assume, right?
No, I mean, if somebody told you they were within range, you could just lightning leap in the direction you feel the tug.
Okay.
But somebody would have to like give you the knowledge of that, because otherwise, if you're blind, you obviously can't look that way. But the Shoes of Lightning Leaping, you would have to determine like I'm going maximum distance to do that, because you don't have any way to specify a shorter distance. You're just saying, like, I'm going to do this as far as these boots are going to take me. And you would have to accept whatever consequences may be if somebody fucking misjudges.
So, we know that looking at it would blind us, right?
Yes.
Do we know the duration of that?
No, it's... Correction. It's just so we don't get it.
Sorry, I misspoke when he said blinded.
Yes. It will kill you if you look at
bad.
it. Not blinded. Do not fucking look at it. I'm saying this out loud in character. Do not fucking look at it. It is not blinded. It will murder you.
Yes, I understand that. Because I heard blinded, so I must have been thinking about that. Because I was like, well, we could
No,
He
the
was like a
blinding is
summon
because
animal or
everybody's wearing
something.
blindfolds. That's why I said yes. I got
Yeah.
screwed up because everybody keeps saying blinded.
Sorry.
Yeah, because no. My
Don't
thinking
hate
was
me.
that
I'm
was
trying
the-
to keep your character alive.
No. I wouldn't look at it. I'm not. I didn't know because I was like, well, maybe we could use like a summon animal or something that would be able to see it and then like communicate or like or Sean. But if it's gonna kill him, then that's probably not a good idea. So. I mean, maybe a
Correction,
little-
Cassius. We don't know if it affects intelligent creatures, so I don't know if she wants to risk Sean. I don't know how intelligent he is.
How much do you like your turtle, Michelle?
Don't hurt my son.
She shields it.
Michelle, how much do you want to lose all your spells?
Is
We'll buy a new one. It's fine.
hey, Sphinx.
You go to the local pet store. You're like, do you have any witch turtles?
Hey, Sean, I need to replace something in the night.
Is the golem a living thing? Sphinx, is that a thing that's alive?
I am alive.
Awkward. Should he be in
I
these conversations?
don't mean
Wait,
any
does he know
offense by
Draconic?
that.
Huh?
Does
No.
Cassius know Draconic?
Yes, he does.
Oh yeah, okay.
Okay.
That actually is the first uncommon or the first language besides common I have. I forgot that he spoke in Draconic.
Yeah, Golem. Do you see through your eyes? Or do you see out some other way?
Actually, this is a good question. Does he only speak Draconic? Because it's only one language it gives him, right? Or does it give him two?
Oh, yeah, let me see what my languages are.
I thought we said he only.
You should make it only speak ancient common, and then I can.
Oh,
I
just,
think it
like-
was only one
Oh.
language. So yeah,
man,
he does
I
not
speak-
know common.
I speak
I was-
Draconic also, so
So do I.
I can ask him in Draconic.
What did you ask him again?
Oh, if he sees through his eyes or if he sees through some other way.
I see through my eyes.
Do you have a way of, do you have a way
Now-
of fighting things without looking? I say in Draconic.
I do not have life, but I am alive.
So, like, if you looked at this thing, would it kill you?
I do not have life, but I am alive. If it consumes life, can it consume me? If I am alive but not alive?
Thanks, Play-Doh.
On a scale of 1 to 20, how smart do you think you'd say you were?
50-50.
On a scale from 1 to immune to construct effects. So yeah, I guess for Erebos, do we get through the night okay with all
Yeah.
the preparations?
You can get through the night, you can get through the next day, okay. There is nothing coming for you.
I don't know if you had any role playing you want to do with this Erebos, but I would be down to have any chats that Erebos wants to have. If there's any things on your mind or whatever. If not, Mal would be pretty quiet.
It's so great when you can tell how scared the party is by how afraid they are to enter.
Mal's actually almost like he still has to give obviously some details, but at some point in this process of taking the scroll, you would see that he goes into his spell book and he pulls out like a hair that he had wrapped up into like a piece of paper, as like sort of the last step of like scribing this.
Can I make a perception check? Because this is Ra's hair. Is he a creepy stalker?
Oh man.
Got him.
Yeah,
Tell me the origins of that hair.
he's been secretly trying to make a secret waifu of Ra for himself.
No.
You're telling me
I
he's
have
Helga from
one-
Arnold?
One hair at a
Hair.
time.
Black
One
hair.
hair at a time.
Black hair.
He's Helga from Hey Arnold.
Wow.
Listen, for joke purposes, that's what I'm saying. For reality purposes, I don't know what this hair is.
Well, I definitely noticed it, so I guess I would bring it up. Well, first, what scroll am I scribing? Or are you doing that later?
I will whisper it to you.
Ooh. So on my character sheet, we talked briefly about me having scroll preparation stuff. So I just have 10 pieces of parchment, 10 pieces of leather scroll cases. And I have a wizard's kit. Is this enough to?
10 pieces of parchment, 10 scroll cases.
Yeah. I specifically wanted each scroll to have a scroll case, the ones I've made, because it's in a bag of handy haversack. So when I summon it, I want it to give me a specific scroll.
Does the wizard's kit come with the inks and pens and?
Not special ones, but it says I have ink, I have an ink pen, I have that sort of stuff.
Do you have some way to liquefy silver?
Do I have some?
Yes, actually you do. You have the cart, the forge on the back of the cart, because part of what you need to do is blend bits of liquid silver into what you're writing. That's the expensive material component of writing a scroll. Is you need to make sure there is like a bit of liquefied silver, which when blended with the ink and like a bit of magic, you kind of create a reagent for producing scrolls.
Why is there a spoopy thing on our layout with us?
What do you mean? You mean closer to her?
Obviously,
is that
I'm
the golem?
paying.
Yeah.
Oh
I'm
my
paying
God.
for it, John. So don't take anything out of yours.
So the question becomes: this has to be a spell I know, and I don't know this spell. So can I copy this into my spell book and learn it, and then do the scroll, or how does this work?
So with cooperative crafting, if two people work together, I can cast the spell into it.
Oh, and then I can just like scribe it.
But I basically have to describe how it works and then give you the magic to do it.
Okay.
And yeah, Steve, I had a technical question, and I'm not sure. So, Kandar has told us this thing's undead. And we know from undead that they're immune
Who took
to...
cooperative crafting?
No, it's not. There's a feat that gives an additional bonus, but you can always work together on projects. I just mean.
Okay.
Like it's not like a cooperative crafting is a specific thing that gives an extra bonus when you do it. We know at this point, I guess I'll make like a knowledge religion on it just to see like because it's like a weird corner case and I don't actually know how it works.
Well, they're extra planar, aren't they?
Yeah, this is related to undead properties of it though. So I would assume with that I know that undead are immune to fortitude effects. If a spell does damage always but has a fortitude save that's like partial for some other effect, can that still affect an undead with just the damage?
1 sec.
Oh, like it's a secondary effect?
Because like by raw, it's like undead, I basically I auto pass anything with a fortitude check.
It's specifically effects that require a fortitude save. So not spells, not abilities, but the effects of whatever the fortitude save would be.
So like essentially I could still do damage with a spell that has a fortitude partial. It's just the partial thing element is completely irrelevant.
Correct. If whatever the fortitude save is saving against is a separate part of whatever's happening, it is immune to whatever that fortitude portion of the effect is.
Cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That was my question.
So sorry, just for further RP, as you're asking me to describe this, I don't know if you want this to be a secret or ever, but in RP, I would ask like, what are you doing with this?
It is what do I say? We all lust for things. It is a very lustful creature. But even something as powerful as it has natural enemies. And how would you feel if your father had walked up to you right now with a gun pointed to your head?
Oh, you mean the thing Cassius uses?
Yes, one of those.
I don't think you'd be able to use it, to be honest, but I get your meaning.
Damn it, Ervo, stop being so fucking technical.
It would be quite the shock, for sure.
Well, imagine if its mortal enemy walks up to it with a flaming sword in his hand. Well, not flaming, some other element because it's immune to fire.
Interesting tactic.
Do you think it'll work?
I mean, it's a plan C, maybe even a plan Z. I wouldn't count on it as a plan A. But speaking of, do you remember? Oh wait, sorry, out of character. When it made that threat to you last session, did you share that? The one where it said like you'd have to face things you weren't aware of or whatever? I thought we had a conversation about it, but I'm just trying to remember if that was.
I haven't shared that detail in character.
Okay.
I'm kind of opting not to. I
Okay.
think I don't want to put further trauma on the party with that. I think I'd give an indirect speech on it where I might say, listen, whatever we are encountering here, it's going to try and fuck with our heads. That's this thing's MO, right? So you guys know the way that I fight. You know that I can take things down in a humane manner. You have to trust that whatever it has in there, it's been watching us. It knows our tendencies. You guys have to push forward and trust that I can handle that situation. You can't be overwhelmed. So just be aware of that. It's going to try and use our emotions against us. I know that.
All right. Well, lucky I took certain spells to help us fortify our minds. Did you just want one scroll of this, by the way?
I only have one hair.
All right.
All right. And with that, let's take a short break.
Okay.
Be back in a moment.